Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. We are super excited to have you all with us. A little housekeeping tip before we move ahead. The session will be recorded, so you can revisit the session on our YouTube channel, and you don't need to worry about if you missed anything in between. Okay, so as a part of our Build Your Career in Salesforce series, today we have the wonderful Lilith Van with us. And Lilith is a Salesforce certified technical architect. She's also 20x Salesforce certified. So without further ado, let's welcome Lilith. Hi, Lilith. Thank you so much for joining us today. How are you?
I'm doing well, yeah, and thank you so much for having me. This is really, really awesome. I love this series.
Well, thank you. We are glad to have you with us on the series. All right. So great to hear, Lilith, that you're doing good. Why don't you introduce yourself to our audience?
Yeah, great. So I'm Lilith Van Biesen. I very, very recently became a Salesforce certified technical architect in September, actually. And I had started my journey a few years back, and then even a few years more back, I started Salesforce. And to be honest, I don't think I've ever kind of grew fond and fell in love with the technology as fast as I did with Salesforce. And I think I really blame kind of Trailhead for that because it's an awesome tool. So yeah, I love to study, I love to learn. And that's good because during my job as solution architect, I have to do that very, very often. So yeah, that's me in a nutshell.
Oh, that's fantastic. All right. So moving ahead, Lilith, as we all know, becoming a CTA is challenging. And I guess there are less than 400 Salesforce CTAs in the world, if I'm correct. So what motivated you to become a CTA?
Yeah, I don't have an actual number, so I don't know what number I am, but that's what I've heard too. So the funny thing about what motivated me is what started off as kind of the motivator to get me on the path is not necessarily what kept me going, right? So when you're on this journey, you grow a lot, and your reasons for doing this also kind of grow. So I started with just seeing this is such a cool cert. It's like so many things to get to, so many levels if you think about gaming, you know. So I want to finish the top boss and be a CTA. That's kind of how it started. But then when you're actually going for it, one of the things that I also quite liked is I love the fact that it has a very clear path to how should you prepare to really get ready for the exam, doing the data architecture, doing the identity certs, really making sure that you step by step, grow the knowledge that you need. So those were my two starting points. But then when I was really going for it, I just really saw this architect mindset evolve, and that kind of became the new motivator. Just seeing where I was 6 months before, and then at that point, the growth I went through, that kept me going. And yeah, it did help also that we had Ladies Be Architect motivating us girls to go out there and do it. So that also was a huge motivator for sure.
Yeah, Ladies Be Architect is a wonderful group. Why don't you share a bit more about Ladies Be Architect?
Yeah, well, I actually, when I was at the very, very beginning of my journey, I just was about to take the first designer cert. I saw them on Trailhead EX in San Francisco. So I saw Gemma, I saw Susanna and Charlie. And it was so awesome because they are so enthusiastic. They really get you, right? Even if you're not so sure, this is a lot of effort. Can I do it? It's just they pull you in, and the amount of resources that they have and how they really kind of almost democratized this resources really, I have no words for the effort that they did. Really paved the path, I think, for a lot of CTAs, and all of us who are now sharing and giving back kind of follow in their footsteps in that regard. So I think they really made a huge change for the community in the preparation.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. Because, they actually inspire so many women to be a part of this niche group, because there are very few Salesforce CTA, like women CTAs, in the world. And so it is really inspiring to see your role models, interact with them, and, actually be able to have a communication with them.
Yeah, that's totally true. And one of the things I do want to hit on is the fact that Ladies Be Architect is just very accessible. It's not just for ladies; anyone can use this information, and there's also a lot of other people contributing. So it's really kind of become a lot bigger than it intended, I guess. Um,
Absolutely.
but definitely having those role models there, such as, for me, definitely one of the bigger role models, I have quite a few, but I don't want to steal too much of your time today, but one of the biggest ones for me is Joina. And she is also very out there in the community. A lot of she does a lot of sessions, so it really helps in kind of seeing, okay, she's really showing us that this can be done. You really can venture forth and create your own path, create your own opportunities. So yeah, it really helps seeing people you admire achieving this, and then it keeps you motivated to try it yourself.
Absolutely, yes, that's true. And having an accessible group for everyone is really something Ladies Be Architect is known for.
That's definitely true. Sorry.
No, it's okay.
No, so one thing that I want to hit on, that is indeed that's totally true with regard to Ladies Be Architect, but actually you might have heard also from about Melissa Shepard's group,
Yes.
the golden hoodie girl from Dreamforce. So she even went a step further, where Ladies Be Architect had a great set of resources and also really clear ways to kind of join groups. Melissa's way is just, there's a really cool and huge Slack community out there you can join, and they are to some extent self-organizing, but she also makes sure that there's opportunity to do mocks. So I think, again, another great woman, and now also CTA, because she became CTA too, showing us how it's done.
Yes, that's really great and helpful. And I guess I heard about this I read about it, sorry, in your blog as well. So yeah, it is really amazing. And somebody's actually asking in the comment section that can men join Ladies Be Architect? I guess Lilith just answered this question. Yes, anybody, a male or female, anybody can be a part of Ladies Be Architect group.
Yeah, that, I mean, I have seen that there's really a mixed group there, so don't worry about that, Sheriff. It's fine.
Yeah. Okay, so before we actually move ahead, for our audience, please give Lilith a shout out and share where you're joining us from. You can also send in your messages and questions for Lilith in the comment section. And thank you so much for all the love you're giving us. Okay, moving on. So Lilith, you have been a CTA for a very short amount of time. So how your roles and responsibilities have evolved after becoming a CTA?
Yeah, to be honest, when I got to the CTA, I was or when I finally got the email, which, it takes a bit of time, it was just such a breather, such a relief, like, okay, wow, I really got it. So, I've kind of finalized the journey to some extent. So I was really happy to be on a project full time. So just being able to kind of acclimate again to the normal or normal-ish work-life balance. So that was at first not much changed. Now I am transitioning away and taking up more of a pre-sales role as well, which is really, really awesome. But I think one of the things that has changed the most is now that I'm not doing 3 mocks a week anymore as a presenter, but I'm usually still doing them as a judge. So only slight change there.
Well, I can partly understand how you're feeling with not having to do all the preparations and studying for the exam. And so obviously it is interesting and a bit relaxing.
Yeah. It took a bit of getting used to the concept of relaxation because I kind of got it, I kind of lost it, I guess. But yeah, it's really fun to have again a bit of time to spend on other things than studying. Even though I love it, good to do something else from time to time as well.
Well, now you have some free time for your friends and family.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. So that's fun. And also, I don't know if you know, I have 2 dogs and 2 cats. So I have like I'm an amateur zookeeper, as you will. So that takes up quite a bit of time as well.
Oh yeah, I can imagine that. Having dogs is, I guess, pretty easy, but having cats, oh God, it's a whole nother world.
Well, the dogs listen, the cats don't, but the dogs need to get, walked every day. So it depends on, what your preference is, I guess.
Okay, that's actually fantastic. But do you think there have been any changes in your roles and responsibilities in your work life
Well,
specifically?
I think, to be honest, it kind of shifted more when or at least for now, I've only been a CTA not that long, but for now, I think the most growth really happened while I was on the journey, actually, because while you're on it, you start to see things in a different way, and you try to apply it in every sense of the way, right? So, and that really also gives you more responsibility and puts you in a different position when you're on projects, because you take up a more proactive role, you take up more ownership. So usually your company is more inclined to give you more responsibilities based on that. So that is something that I would highly advise, is if you learn something, you can always try to apply it. It helps you understand it better. And it also opens up a whole new realm of possibilities and opportunities.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, just a related question. How do you think becoming a CTA helps any person in advancing in their career? Obviously,
Yeah,
this is the highest level of Salesforce certifications. So, yes, if you have a CDA certification, then it's a whole new story. But still, I just want to understand from you.
Yeah, I think, it gives some kind of credibility, which doesn't mean that if you don't have this title, you might not have the skills. That's not at all the case, because I know a lot of people who for sure know a lot more than I do and are just, way more experienced, that don't have the certification. So, but it does help. For me, for example, I have only been working with Salesforce since 2017, so almost 5 years now, which is not a lot. And this CTA helps kind of showing like, yeah, she's not just a newbie, she actually knows this stuff quite well. So in that regard, it really helped, the credibility for sure. But I think the biggest part is really the fact that you learn to be an architect. You talk to a lot of people, you learn all those skills, not only technical but soft as well, which makes you just so much more easy to put on different projects if you're for a consultancy partner, for example. So those are the things, really, the skills that you get.
Yes, absolutely. So there are like so many advantages of being in a CTA, and in the end, it is obviously going to help you in your career directly or indirectly. If you have the knowledge, then obviously you will be able to move forward in your career pretty easily. And with obviously, if you have the certification, that means that you have the knowledge, I guess.
Yeah, but that's the funny part. A lot of people expect this to be more of a technical exam, or because all the other Salesforce exams usually are quite content based. You go for sales cloud consultant, for example, because you know the product really well. And that is definitely true for the CTA. You have to have the knowledge. It's difficult to do it otherwise. But the most important part is really the communication, because the time pressure for this exam is so different from anything else that I've done before, that you have to really just make sure that, one, you can deal with that time pressure, you are very good at time management, and that you also use the time wisely in communicating well and efficiently, so that it's very clear for the judges what you're talking about. You don't have to waste time repeating yourself. So that's a funny part. Even if you're very strong technically, there is a whole bunch of soft skills that you need to really get there and get the pass.
Yeah, that is actually true, and I was surprised to see that in the requirements list on Trailhead. And I was like, okay, there were a few things, communications, leadership, blah blah blah. So there were like quite a few things on the list, and so obviously it's not just about the technical knowledge. You have to have a lot of different skills in order to be an architect, and having an architectural mindset is one of the key things to move forward in that direction.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Looking at something and seeing it as a puzzle and not something to run away from. And also seeing this is something that I learned from Vinay, who's an awesome CTA and helped me so much. He told me to not look at every problem, and especially not every technical problem, as needing a technical solution. Some things you have to solve in different ways, in governance or the communication or collaboration with business. You cannot solve everything with technology, unfortunately.
True.
So you have to
Yeah,
have the middle ground.
yeah, a lot of the time, no, the smaller problems arises just because of miscommunication or lack of communication. So yes, it is a very essential skill which everybody should have, not just the CTAs.
Totally, yeah, exactly. But it's a good one because it's not always easy to practice this on projects. If you're really, your job is to develop this or to configure that, you might not have
True.
the opportunity to step into that role. So that's where the study groups come in. So yeah.
True. Yes. All right. So, as you know, since the journey of becoming a CTA is very long and challenging, you mentioned parts of it in the blog as well, that your family, you were not able to see them or attend any events or functions with them. So, yeah, it is a very long and challenging journey. Would you like to talk about the challenges you faced along the way and how you were able to overcome those?
Yeah, definitely, because of course it's, everyone is always very happy when you get there, and you should, because it's quite an achievement. But on the other hand, you also have to be really aware that this will take quite a bit of dedication, and that's where I think sharing the challenges that you have faced is really, really useful for people who might be, taking their first steps. So the first one, the first challenge is actually maybe the scariest. It's like you've reached the end of the pyramid, and if you're like me at that point, I was like, okay, so now the hard part is done, right? I had done all the certs, so I mean, how much more can there be? So I was so wrong in that assessment. That is the start. Then it really becomes hard. So, and then knowing where to start is really difficult. And the difficulty there, I think, has evolved. Before, we might not have had all these cool resources, which made it very difficult to know, okay, how to prepare. And now we have so many great resources that if you would like to read them all, you likely need a few years to go through them and really understand. So now it becomes a bit, overwhelming. Like, there's so much out there. Where should I start? So that is one of the bigger challenges. And they're really talking to other people, sharing with each other. This I really loved. You should check out that recording. And yeah, by the way, I'm going to write a blog post on where to start, and my draft is like 2 pages long. So you can, it's really a difficult problem to solve. So it's really knowing a lot of people there and hearing where they start really helps. The second one is something that I don't think is specific to the CTA. I think we've all faced it, kind of like the imposter syndrome. Like,
Yes.
can I really get there? People might think that I'm smart, but I'm not really. I kind of hoped that it would go away when I got the email, like, yeah, Lilith, you got it. It didn't. So I still have it. But I think now, more and more through putting yourself out there, which you have to do constantly when you're trying for the CTA, because you have to go out there, present your solution, and kind of see, what they think of it, which is a very scary and vulnerable position to be in. So that definitely, but also there, seeing other people. So, for example, Sam Wadwani, he wrote a very cool blog post about the accessible architect. I think I would need to double check the title. I always forget it, but it's really good because he walks you through how he was feeling and how he sometimes felt incapable. And knowing that such smart people have the same issue with imposter syndrome that you have, yeah, okay, if they have it, it's normal. Because everyone does then.
Yeah, this is actually true. But I guess people with a learning mindset, they generally have this imposter syndrome because if you have a learning mindset, you're constantly learning new things, and you feel, oh my God, I don't know this. I'm not sure if I'm capable enough to do this. So
Yeah.
I guess it's a good sign, and nobody should be afraid of taking on the challenges. Don't undermine yourself. You know, you can do anything if you
Yeah, and
put
it
your
is the more you know, the more you know that you don't know a lot of other stuff, right? And that's the scary part. But it does get easier when you see other people facing this too. Then you just understand this is normal. Everyone has it. It's fine. I just have to remind myself and look back at what I've accomplished already, and reaffirm that I am smart. I have what it takes. I might not know everything, but that's fine. Nobody does. So, that's
true.
fine. So that was definitely, it's still a challenge, but it's getting easier. And
Mhm.
also there sometimes it's a bit heightened because you're constantly comparing yourself to others. And it's just the way it is. And I think with the Salesforce community being so tight and you really know each other quite well, and you see other people progressing, you're sometimes like, oh, I'm not moving fast enough, or I'm not going, I'm not there yet, I don't know enough. Those comparisons can help that feeling of inadequacy or imposter syndrome. But in the end, everyone has that as well. So I was comparing myself to someone, and he was actually comparing himself to me. So it's, it doesn't serve any purpose. So it's natural of you to do this, but you shouldn't, or you shouldn't at least let it get to you.
True, that's true.
And then,
Okay,
sorry,
sorry.
yeah, sorry, I have two more challenges. You thought this was over, but oh gosh.
Yeah, I actually wanted to know more about your challenges. It's good that you're sharing.
Okay, because there's one that I think a lot of people have, but maybe not put it in words, and that's the guilt that you feel towards, your friends, your family, because you do have to say a lot of no's when it comes to, hey, can you go here or there? I was lucky in an unlucky situation, let's say, that there was COVID, so there were lockdowns, so it was socially acceptable not to say yes to everything. But it does still remain a bit tough because, of course, I'm married, so my husband, he really had to kind of take a back seat. So it's not easy because you do feel guilty because you're again there at the computer talking to all these other people, ignoring the people that you of course care about and love. So that is difficult, and I think that there's not really much around it. There's no more, there's only so many hours in a day. You can only spend them once. So in that regard, I think you have to make those decisions and agreements with them before you start. And if there's something, maybe try to optimize it here and there when you can spend time with each other, book in that time. And yeah, everyone will have their own process there, but that's a tough one to get over. It doesn't get easier there.
True. Yeah, actually, it is difficult when you're, almost ignoring your family and having a conversation with somebody else. But it's actually great that, um, partners nowadays are more helpful when you're trying to achieve something. So it's
Yeah.
it's really a blessing to have such nice people in your life.
Yeah, I cannot be more grateful. For me, everyone really understood, my friends, my family, even though there was nothing to do anywhere anyway, like in real life, physically at that point. Still, they understood. So I was, yeah, really happy with that. I got a lot of support. So, and then the final challenge is the retake. So that I went for the board in June. That was the first attempt. And then I got my results back, and it told me that I had to do one section again. So you have 7 domains in the review board. You can pass or you can fail one or two, and then you can do just a retake on those two. So that's what I had, and I would then have to do my retake in September. So that was another challenge, because even though I'm not going to complain, because it is a good result and a lot of people would sign for it, I'm sure, it was tough because you've invested so much time and you're really working towards that milestone. So you're really hoping like that's it, and then I can drink my sangria. But it's not, yeah, so it wasn't. And I had to really pick myself up. But there again, knowing so many people in the community, seeing that others have been through the same process, that people that you look up to might not have succeeded at the first try anyway, it helps you kind of get back that energy, build it up, and just go for it again. So yeah, on this one, we actually did a full session with my SIMA group, where also James Quinn and Chetan Chang came and talked about their experiences there. So yeah, very much recommended for anyone who is going through a retake.
Yeah, please visit the YouTube video. It is really helpful. I watched parts of it. I'm sorry.
No,
But it is really helpful, and you all should watch it. Also, so there has been a new addition in the exam process. So initially there was only the review board exam, and now they have added the review board evaluation as well. So how do you think the review board evaluation helps with the exam process?
Yeah, so it used to be called the 602. So it was already available, but it was optional. I took it, so I can walk you through my experience. That for me, it really helped because it really gave me an idea of, okay, a very honest feedback on what is your strengths, what are your weaknesses. Should you try to go for this within the next few months? Or is this maybe something that you might want to take a bit more time for? And that was the purpose when it was optional. And that is still the purpose now that it's mandatory. And it really helps to make sure that you don't go for the board when you're not fully prepared yet, because you can ask anyone who went and got a full fail. It really is a tough one to swallow. So I'm completely in favor of it. I think it also has helped a lot with the timeline, because before there were so many people who wanted to go for the board and everyone had the prerequisites. So it was not always easy for the team to assess who, has a chance, who should we prioritize. While now the line became a lot shorter because you have to pass this one first. So it already makes sure that the people who are going for it have a fair shot. I think the transition period was a bit tough because a lot of people were so close, and then all of a sudden they had this extra hurdle to jump. But all in all, I think it's a very good idea, and it will make it easier for you to actually see, okay, it also gives you a boost of confidence. Like, yes, at least already one CTA thinks I'm ready.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely true, because getting a validation from an actual CTA is really important, and it actually boosts your confidence instantly.
Yeah, definitely. I bothered a lot of CTAs to be judges in my mocks, and yeah, luckily and also surprisingly, quite a few agreed. So that really helped, because also the questions that but also just in general, people who've been for the board, they tend to ask slightly different questions. So it really helped me be more prepared and less scared when I went for the actual one.
Yeah, I guess it's a really nice step from Salesforce to make it mandatory for everyone instead of optional. So it doesn't just save the time, it also saves you a lot of money, because I guess the review board exam is very expensive, whereas the evaluation is quite, it is also still expensive, but you will not regret paying 1,500 if it will help you in the and to actually get the CTA certification. So it is quite expensive. And on this note, I actually wanted to just touch base on this specific area that, how were you able to pay for your CTA preparation? Were you sponsored by an organization, or you did it by yourself? Are you aware of any sponsorships which people can apply for?
Yeah, the only sponsorships that I'm aware of are the ones that are organized by companies themselves. So that can be, companies who are maybe vendor partners or consultancy partners. And that is something that I think is really important to keep in mind when you're going for the journey. Not only will you get the financial support from your company, but also will you get the other support that you need. For example, will they put you on projects which might be less high maintenance? Will they go and provide training days, or will they at least keep in mind that maybe you're not that available for that time because you're really preparing? So for me personally, there was a part that I paid myself. So that was the Flow Republic part. And then when it came down to the Salesforce official training, the 902, as well as the review board evaluation and the review board, my company paid for that. So I was very fortunate in that regard, because that is a lot of money.
It is, yes. Would you mind sharing the rough figure you almost spent on this exam process?
Yeah, sure. So the total of the evaluation together with the review board is about, I think, $6,000. And
Yeah.
then if you take one of the courses, I think it's roughly the same number for both the 601, the 901, the 902. I think they're about $1,500. So, but I do think they are good investment. I really like them. I didn't do the 601, but I did the 901 and the 902. I really like them. And then I also did Flow Republic, which is, I think, about $5,000 to $6,000 as well. I would need to double check, but something in that area. And I'm also very happy that I took it, because I think it really, it gave me a CTA coach to work with. So that was very helpful. And also it really structured my study. While before I was investing perhaps the same amount of time, but just not as efficiently. So it really kind of made sure that I went a lot quicker in my progress, in my growth. And when it came down to it and I got the date, and we got good scare for a moment, like, are we going to be able to do it? Seb really gave me the confidence, did so many mocks with me to get me ready and make sure that I felt confident in going there. So yeah, I'm very happy, of course. Now I got it, so of course I'm happy. I'm happy with the investments that I made, but they are big investments to make. That's just really the case.
A lot of the times your company might sponsor you for CTA, especially if you're working with Salesforce or Salesforce partners, because Salesforce partners do get discount on the certification prices and stuff. So if you are thinking about doing the CTA examination, please check with the organization. They might actually help you with a lot of resources and financially as well. So yes. Okay, another question which I have regarding the challenges you faced is, were you working full-time? Because in your blog, you mentioned it took you about a year to prepare for the CTA exam. So were you working full-time during this duration, or you had some support from your organization, so somebody else filling in for you for the time being, or how you were managing your time? Because this whole process takes a lot of energy, and so I'm sure it will be challenging for you to do your job and study for the CTA exam as well. So how were you managing it all?
Yeah, so one side note before getting into the support is that together with a few others, I was kind of like a pioneer in my company. There was no CTA before me, and therefore there was also not really a CTA program just yet. So they were figuring it out as we went. So there's still some things that I couldn't make use of before that are now available. So it has become better there for sure. When I first started, I actually the whole time I was still working full-time on a project. In the beginning, when I started Flow Republic, I took a lot of leave days myself, so Mondays or Fridays off, to make sure that I could prepare for those sessions. And then when I got the date, I took almost all the leave days that I had left to make sure that I could take a lot of time off when I got really, really close to the board, because you have to practice so much that combining that with a full-time project, I don't think it's a recipe for success, because it's
True.
just, that pressure that you're constantly thinking of something else. So I think it's best to really make sure that at least week or 2 weeks before you can focus fully on that. So that was for the first attempt. And then for the second one, I said, okay, guys, I'm nearly out of leave days here. Don't know how I'm going to prepare for that one. And then they jumped in and said, okay, but you'll have training days. And then this became a new common thing for anyone else then on the journey. So there were some things that they were not there at first, but they came after. And also with the IBM acquisition, we got the awesome Mitesh, Matt, Jitendra, some awesome CTAs, which could provide feedback as well. So yeah, it's not because your company does not have it yet that it can't evolve towards it. I'm a pushy girl, so I just tell them what I would like there to be, and they don't always agree with me. But yeah, if you don't try, you'll not succeed anyway. So
True. Yes, absolutely. Well, you've shared quite a lot of useful information. So, what would be your advice for someone who is working towards the path of becoming a CTA?
yeah, so that's I have a lot of advice, but I'll try to keep it short. So I think the most important one, everyone wants to kind of get there as quickly as possible. I know I was the same. Of course, you want to just work hard, get there, and then be happy and succeed, and drink sangria again. But you have to keep in mind that this is really going to be a marathon, especially if you're at the stage where you still have to go and walk up the pyramid. I would really recommend that you take your pace. I sprinted through some of those certs, and I did regret it later on, because this knowledge is really what you need when you go for the actual board. So it makes sense to really take a bit more time while doing them, do some hands-on there, make sure that you really know what they are expecting, what are these concepts, be able to apply them, take good notes, because you will need them later on. And then once it's down to it, once you're at the top of the pyramid and you've done a few mocks, you joined a few study sessions, you really have found kind of your ID, you went for the evaluation, that's when the sprint starts. Because when you get that date, then you have to really create a plan for the last sprint, or maybe even more like an obstacle course, because you have to really, you want to make sure that those last months you spend as efficiently and with the highest amount of dedication and energy as possible.
Absolutely, yeah. And I actually read on somebody's LinkedIn profile, and they were saying no CTA have passed the examination without the cheat sheet. So I guess having your cheat sheets are also very important.
Yeah, well, exactly. That's, it's a way to structure your notes, because there's so much to learn that breaking it down into cheat sheets really, really helps. So I'll have those on licenses. I have those on, the limits that are there. I have on Shield. I have on all kinds of topics, my cheat sheets. And it's really good, because otherwise you always have to go back to the same Salesforce documentation, or even worse, the feeling like I know I read this somewhere, but where I don't remember. And then you have to go on a Google hunt. So taking notes and really keeping track of them is so valuable.
Absolutely, yeah. It actually helps you keep organized and understand things properly. So whenever you need something, you don't need to go through each and everything again. You can just go there and see, oh, okay, it is here. I can, just go through this quickly.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so moving on to the last question. After this, we'll start taking the audience questions. I know you're all very eager and you have shared so many questions with us. Okay, Lilith, now you have achieved this big milestone. Becoming a CTA is obviously a huge milestone in itself. So what is next for you that you want to achieve?
Yeah, so there's two elements to it. So the first one, of course, is more certs. You know, I love my certs. So I want to take the solution architect ones as well as the UX, because these are actually ones that I think are very close to what you need when you go for the CTA board. Because one of the things that people tend to forget is the UX part. It has to be user friendly. So sometimes you might have a technically sound solution, but if nobody wants to use it, then it won't have a return on investment that is acceptable to business. So those definitely are still on my radar. And then aside from that, I'm very happy, that I'm still learning a lot, growing a lot, and I want to continue on that path, challenging myself both from a cert point of view as well as in the projects that I take on. And then hopefully continue to give back. So I have still kind of I think about 4 to 5 topics that I would like to write about in my blog or in the LinkedIn articles that I think could be useful for people on the journey. I hope that they agree. If not, then just skip it. You don't have to read it. If the first 2 lines are not interesting, don't waste your time, right? But so that's something that I get a lot of energy out of, just doing these sessions, talking with people who are on the path and seeing that at least some of the things that I'm saying resonate or provide maybe some additional motivation or some value, maybe some interesting resources they didn't know about before. Anything I can do to help me, giving back, and then to help people the same way that people help me. That's the gist of the Salesforce community. It's I don't think there's many others out there that are as collaborative as this one. And I want to really pay it forward and give back to the people who helped me.
Fantastic. Yeah, that should be the spirit, you should always feel that, you should give back to the community, because a lot of people have helped you throughout your journey.
Yes.
And so, once you'll start giving back to the community, you'll start helping people, you'll automatically feel good, and you'll obviously, in the process, increase your skill set, improve your knowledge, and so many other things. It's almost like being a mentor, and it helps you improve your personality, your communication skills, and so many other things. That's what I feel.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's something that I was very hesitant about when I was first joining the community. I was like, will people even find it interesting, or will I just be like that mosquito, like, shut up already, right? But seeing that even things that you think are not that interesting, or maybe what will people get as value from this, or maybe some small things that you've learned. Hey, did you know that you can click there and it shows you this? Some people don't know, and it can add value. It can make their work so much more efficient or easy, or take away some of the frustration. So, and that's a cool thing in Salesforce. Even if you think it's just a minor thing, you can really make a huge impact on someone else. So really sharing anything that you think this is quite cool, I think it's always valuable.
True, absolutely. Well, that's the end of the question from us. Just before we move on to the next part, a little self-publicity. We are Apphienz. We are a registered Salesforce partner, and we work with some really smashing clients, and we're hiring for multiple different roles. If you want to work with us, please send in your applications through our website portal, or you can drop us an email at careers@aphienz.com. If you have any questions, you can connect with me on LinkedIn. I'll be happy to answer them for you. Now we will take some questions from the audience. So our first question is from Tanya Jones, and she is saying that she's curious if becoming an admin compared to a developer or architect requires you to be more of a people person, extrovert. If that's not a strength, should you go do the developer?
So I think Well, as an architect, I think you have to talk to a lot of people. I don't think that there's much of a way around, because you're usually kind of in the bridge position between business and the technical team. So there's a lot of, talking to people. So if that is not something you feel very, very comfortable with, then maybe that is not your thing. But on the other hand, keep in mind, and there's a very cool session about this from Gemma Blizzard. And there's so many types of architect. Not all of them are as business or customer facing as others. So if you're thinking, okay, I do like the puzzle part of an architect, maybe coding is really not my thing, then you should watch that session and see if there's any other type of architect, maybe integration one, or maybe data architect, which might be more towards what you're interested in. So yeah, I think there's a lot of things you can do.
True, exactly. But I guess an admin is a very people-facing role. So if you're not comfortable doing that, don't push yourself. If you're not, comfortable with this, there are plenty of opportunities for you within the Salesforce realm. So yeah, just explore yourself. What you like the most, you can do that.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Moving on. So our next question is from Dongzi Zhang, and he wants to know what exactly is the difference between a solution architect and a technical architect? Which one is more senior in the world of Salesforce? I don't think there's a one answer which fits everything in here, but still, you're an expert, so maybe you can share some knowledge.
Yeah, I think this is a very tricky one, because the concept of what is a solution architect and what is a technical architect is really a very broad concept, and really depends on different companies and their definition of it. So it's quite difficult to say like what is what exactly. Overall, and this is just kind of in general, I would say that if you're a solution architect, this is where you're mostly talking to business, and you so have to be very aware of what products are out there. That's why they also introduced those B2C, B2B certifications for those solution architects, because you have to know, okay, if we see someone who has some complex product configuration, maybe CPQ is a good fit for them. You have to be more on that side, but then also knowing that what can it roughly do and really break it down. And from a technical point of view, it's really keeping the focus of the full architecture. You also, of course, especially for the CTA, you have to know sales, service, and the platform and experience, of course. But it's really also making sure everything fits. You're not using the platform in a way that it shouldn't be used. You make sure it's scalable. You make sure that the integration makes sense, that the pattern there makes sense, the frequency. So I would say that the technical one is definitely more technical. I wouldn't say that one is necessarily more senior. But again, it depends, because I have seen organizations where they do put the technical one as the more senior of the two. But I think it really depends. I hope it was useful.
Yeah, it totally depends on the products you're working with. But generally, I guess CTA is considered more senior around the world. Yeah, but still, solution architect also requires a lot of dedication. It's not an easy certification to achieve.
No, it's true. And when you're talking about the certifications, of course, the exams for the solution architects, I think, are more traditional. While the CTA one, I don't think there's many others in the Salesforce certification world that follow the same pattern. So in that regard, yeah, it is a bit different, and you have to prepare in a different way. But if you're really talking about roles and titles, then yeah, it's kind of fair game. Depends on the company.
True, exactly. Okay, we got two questions, and both of them are pretty similar. So I will show one after the other quickly. So the question, Izzadin Al Hamadi wants to know, he's a beginner and just starting his career, and he wants to know some tips about career paths. And similar question we got from Jignesh. He's saying he just started his career as a software engineer in Salesforce and really appreciate for career growth tips. So maybe if you can share some career growth tips for them.
Yeah, I can mostly speak from my experience in the sense that I really kind of grew into what I like to do. So through trial and error, different projects, seeing, okay, this parts I'm more a fan of, these others maybe not that much, or maybe there's just so many people who are way better at this than I am, and it's maybe not my passion. And that's how I followed my path and created my path, because I don't like to think of my job as something that I have to do. Of course, there are some logistical reasons why this is the case, but I want to go every day to my work and really kind of be motivated to do this. And that's how I made my decisions. Of course, it's very difficult to know what options are out there. So in that regard, if you work for a company that maybe doesn't have that fixed idea of you're this type of hat, you're that type of hat, but allows you to kind of explore, and also using Trailhead, which more and more has kind of an idea of, or gives you quick looks into particular roles, I think it will help kind of knowing what is out there. And yeah, finally, I would say watch this series, because you guys talk to a lot of people in different roles about what they do. So I think that also helps give people kind of an idea on, okay, would this be something for me or not?
Absolutely. Yeah, we have done so many sessions on, how you can get into Salesforce, or once you're in, how you can actually get started. So some people, they just get certifications, they don't have experience. So how you can get in to how you can actually land a job from there. We also talked about different things like, so for example, if you're coming from a non-technical background, how you can still have a career within Salesforce. So we have done some really amazing sessions in the past. If you're interested in watching any of those, you can go to our YouTube channel and have a look. Okay, perfect. So moving on. The next question is from Tanya Jones, and she wants to know, does every Salesforce role require sales? I don't think every Salesforce role requires sales, but in case you mean Sales Cloud, then maybe Lilith can explain.
Yeah, if it's Sales Cloud, then I think a lot of there's a lot of things that are in Sales Cloud that are usually vital. For example, the account and content management. I don't think you can use Salesforce without those. It doesn't really make a lot of sense. So do you need to know Sales Cloud? Well, not necessarily for every role, I would say, but you would need to know at least the platform basics, which in my opinion would definitely include those. One addition there is that, of course, Salesforce is a CRM, and their Sales Cloud is a powerful tool in building out those capabilities. So I think you will find not that many Salesforce implementations which don't have Sales Cloud. I might be wrong, but I think there will be at least a part of it that's reused at least.
Yeah, I think almost every company who is using Salesforce is using Sales Cloud as the main platform, because getting more sales and building the sales pipeline is crucial for any organization. So I guess Sales Cloud is pretty crucial, but I don't think you need it for every role. So for example, for Marketing Cloud, I don't think you need to have a deep understanding of how Sales Cloud work or what the nitty-gritties of it. If you have the admin certification and you're interested in becoming the Marketing Cloud consultant, you can do that. Or it is the same with Experience Cloud, Service Cloud, whatever you're interested in. You don't necessarily have to have a Sales Cloud certification or a deeper knowledge of that. But obviously, the basics are really important. So you need to cover those. You cannot just skip them.
No, but that's a very valid point, and I completely overlooked it. So definitely you have those concepts or those products such as Marketing Cloud, but I think the same can be said, for example, for Tableau CRM, which are kind of in a world on their own almost. Likely they built on or they are used in collaboration or in addition to. but you can definitely specialize on those without being a buff in Sales Cloud. That's true.
True. Absolutely, yes. Moving on. The next question is from Sharif Dahlan, and he is saying, Lilith, in your journey, did you also acquire other architect certs as well as B2C architect, B2C architect, etc., or did you exclusively focus on getting the CTA?
Okay, so well, fortunately or unfortunately for me, it depends how you look at it, they were being introduced when I was really nearing kind of my due date or my review board date, let's say. So I did not do them, but I really, really want to. So they're definitely high on my list. And I do think that they make a lot of sense. I've looked into some of the, prerequisites and also the contents and the materials that they propose you do when you want to go for them, and I think they make a lot of sense. So I think they will likely make your CTA journey a bit easier if you do them first. I did not focus exclusively on the CTA. Actually, when I got to the final step, I looked into Pardot and Field Service Lightning as well as Tableau CRM. I got those 3 certs to make sure that I knew a bit more about the broader Salesforce ecosystem before, keeping my head down and really going for the CTA.
Yeah, no, actually, CTA is a very difficult exam. If you distract yourself with too many things at the same time, it will make your life very difficult, I'll say. But yeah, as you mentioned during conversations before as well, you are thinking about getting more certifications, and yeah, I think that's really interesting that even after becoming CTA, you're still on the learning path and you want to, grow yourself, you want to learn more. So it's really interesting. You don't need to restrict yourself to the pyramid of certifications, which are essential or prerequisites of the CTA certification, but also you can get any certification you are really into. So if you're actually into Commerce Cloud, then go for B2C architect or B2B architect, whatever you feel comfortable with. If you are just getting the certification for knowledge, you can still do that. So it totally depends on you.
Yeah, definitely. And there's so many certs out there. So, choosing just one can be quite a challenge.
True, absolutely. All right, so next question is from William Pre, and he's asking, are there any business analyst roles that are in demand? I have no clue about this, but in general, business analyst roles are in demand in Salesforce. If you have some information about this, Lilith, would you like to share it with us?
I would love to help, but unfortunately, I don't have too much information about the job market. I think we with Saima did a session on the career panel where we talked about kind of like what is a Salesforce career like, and maybe we addressed it there. So I'm sorry, William, I can't answer it now, but if you want, you can check out that recording. It might give an answer to your question.
Yeah, okay. Maybe you can get some more information with the YouTube videos available online. Okay, so we only have one more question left. We're actually not using the duplicate questions because we got the feedback last time as well from you guys that, a lot of the questions, they were almost similar. So we're not answering them. But if you have any unique question, this is your time to put it in the comment section. So the next question is from Amol Krishna Saha Kapasya. He is saying, hi Lilith, can you please suggest or give some guidance about how to start a journey in Salesforce as a fresher after a career gap? It will be highly beneficial. So, sorry, yes, please go on.
No, okay, yeah. What really helped get me going in the Salesforce ecosystem, let's say, was really Trailhead. So it has so many good courses and content. You can kind of see, okay, what parts, what roles are there? How can you approach Salesforce? Am I interested in being business user, developer, admin? They have really quite tailored content for all of it. And they also have trails which will walk you through which of all these modules, because there's so many right now, it can be tricky to navigate, which could be interesting for you. So that was how I got started, and that's always the advice that I give, to make sure that you read up and do some hands-on, which is one of the most powerful things of Trailhead, is the fact that they can really validate your exercises. And I would always recommend that approach. I think it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, true. And as I mentioned during the session as well, we have covered this topic in our previous lives as well. So you can visit our YouTube channel and get some information from there. Just to give you a quick idea about how you can get started is obviously Trailhead. It is a free resource and you can get plenty of information there. Salesforce also runs some free training sessions for the admin and developer exams and some other certifications as well. So you can use those resources, and there are some other free courses available as well. So you can just explore it online and see what works best for you. Once you have the certification, you can probably do an internship or maybe volunteer with some organization to gain some experience. And hopefully after that, you can start applying for different roles as a full-time resource or as an entry-level resource. Simultaneously with something which we covered in our session in October with David Scott was the importance of building your personal brand. And nowadays, we're actually seeing this more and more, that whenever you apply for any role, the company will go to your LinkedIn, see how you're doing there, and then they actually make their decisions. I'm not sure, how so many companies are doing this, or this has actually become such an essential part. So having a very active social presence or building your brand socially will actually help you land that job. Sometimes, it's easier for you to just connect with the hiring manager over LinkedIn and say, hi, I'm interested in this role. Would you be interested in maybe connecting over a call to discuss this? So these are just some smaller tips which will actually help you get the job, because there are a lot of times when you're just keep on applying for few roles and you're not actually able to connect with the person who's hiring for the role. And so just by sending that small message, you increase your chances of getting hired, because now they know who you are, they're noticing you. And so it's just an interesting way to feature yourself among the pool of candidates.
Yeah, and to jump in on that topic, I think also we forgot to mention two very interesting resources as well. So you know that there's some YouTube channels from Salesforce, but also from other creators who are providing this type of content. One of the amazing ones there is, for example, Apex Hours, where they cover a lot of topics as well. So that's really cool to get up and going too. And there's a lot of user groups, and the really cool part there, the Trailblazer community groups, is that the topic doesn't always have to be super technical or has to be all that, configuration nitwit, or, deep dive into where do you have to go into, the setup. They really have these type of topics too. How do you get started? How do you, find your way around what is important, what is not? So I would definitely browse the Trailblazer community. Still, a lot of them have virtual sessions, which I highly recommend. I jumped into all kinds of virtual ones. You saw me in the US, you saw me in Singapore, anywhere where I thought, oh, this is a cool session. That's the benefit of the virtual availability, let's say.
Yeah, exactly. After COVID, this is something which is really interesting, because now I can be a part of any community group in the world. If I like their session, I can just be a part of it. It's really amazing.
Yeah, exactly.
True. And about Apex Hours, they're actually sharing really interesting information. So you should visit them if you are just starting in your career. And being a part of a community group also will be very helpful, because people who have experiences, they will be able to mentor you or share their knowledge with you. And so it's not just that you will learn something about the admin certification or the developer certification, but also you will learn so many skills and you'll build connections, your network, which will directly or indirectly help you in landing that first job.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, all right. So this was the last question. We will now be wrapping up the session. That's it for today. Thank you so much for joining us, everyone. We look forward to hosting such interesting lives for you all. If you have any topic suggestions for our upcoming lives, please let us know in the comment section, and we will make sure to accommodate all of them. We have a really interesting session coming up for developers in the first week of December, where we will be discussing some really interesting topics with Philip Azil. So stay tuned and follow us on all of our social media handles to stay updated with the latest events. Thank you so much, Lilith, for sharing all about Salesforce CTA and taking out time on a Friday evening to chat with us. You were fantastic today, and I'm sure you're going to end your day with a nice glass of sangria because we were talking about it so much during the session. So I assume that this is your favorite drink.
Yeah, it seems that I didn't keep that secret well hidden.
Well, you should have shared it beforehand, so maybe we can all join you with a sangria glass next time.
Yeah, I'm open to sending, sangria selfies.
Yeah, that's a really good idea. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Lilith.
Yeah, happy to be here. Thank you so much for having me. This was really, really awesome. And thanks for everyone for coming out. Thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you so much. Have a wonderful weekend. Bye-bye, everyone.